Hello, everybody. Welcome to the presentations for the 22nd BigBlueButton Developer Summit. I am coming to you from Vienna, Austria, where it is a beautiful Christmas day outside, or it feels like Christmas, all the Christmas markets. So we've done this for 22 times so far. That means every year, twice a year, the core developers of BigBlueButton from around the world get together. We work away for a week. We do some late nights. I think we hit like 10 or 11 o'clock last night, and it's all accumulating and getting ready for these presentations, which you are now watching. Welcome to all those that are watching it live. We encourage you to engage with the presenter, type stuff in the chat, and this will be recorded as well. So we'll edit all these recordings and put them up to YouTube at the end. The format will be is we'll do just one continuous spread through. I'll show this slide again at the end. I'll give you a preview. We have, after I present, there'll be 8 more presentations, all about some pretty cool stuff that we've been doing around the product. And I invite you to stay through it all. If you're watching online in a recording, these will be separate videos. So we'll have them all in a YouTube playlist to make it easy for you to jump to the ones you're interested in the most. All right. So I would like to introduce myself. I am Fred Dixon. I am the co-founder of BigBlueButton Inc. I've been working on this project for 17 years. And it is the joy of my life to lead this open source project, which has had a fairly big impact around the world. So I also want to thank those people who have supported us. So the ZKI, the Association of Higher Education in Germany, over the years has contributed to the BigBlueButton project funding, usually 5 or 10K per school. That has helped us hold these summits, advance the development in particular areas, most particularly like the LiveKit integration, which has gone on. So I thank all the universities. They use BigBlueButton. There is no requirement that they contribute, but each of these are showing an outstanding example of how even a little bit from a universities add up, and they're all benefiting the project and cheering us on. So we work hard for them because they're certainly supporting us. At this conference, I would like to thank our host, the University of Vienna. Beautiful facilities, by the way. We've had this great room to ourselves. They couldn't be more gracious, and they also put together a video to highlight the whole week. So there's been people filming us, so we're getting those socials out. And I also want to give a big shout out to 2 sponsors who provided means to get developers here and host. So Think Modular is a German company that has been based in Austria that supports BigBlueButton through its integration with Drupal and hosting of BigBlueButton, and they've been a fantastic supporter, especially the Drupal integration. They did a really good job. And Darius is a commercial company that uses BigBlueButton. They got rid of Zoom about 2 years ago and couldn't be happier. So they also have funded some of the travel expenses for people to come, which is good. The more people are here, the more we can do in a week, and we can do a lot in a week. And I also already mentioned ZKI. Shout out to Multi-Dryer for all the work he's done to coordinate the support. Okay, a little bit of retrospect. This is what it was like 2 years ago in Berlin. So this was the 18th Developer Summit, and here we were just doing a sync up. This was the 19th Developer Summit. This was in Brazil. It was very nice. We did a hack week that year as well. So we got together with no presentations. We just hack away and sort of challenge ourselves to see how much we can get done. Last year, we were at the Technical University of Berlin. Again, thanks for them hosting us. And we presented at the end of the week. We had the 21st Developer Summit in Brazil, where we again advanced the project. And today, and there was a hack week we did as well about a week ago. And that is a gentleman from the Brazilian NREN, who is a big supporter of BigBlueButton. This was hosted by MConf, and they provide BigBlueButton service to a very large number of universities in Brazil. All right, and that brings us to Vienna, which is a beautiful city. Okay, so if you came up to me in the elevator or walking in and you said, hey, Fred, what is BigBlueButton? I always describe it as it's a virtual classroom designed to ensure every student learns, and you can measure that in increasing student learning outcomes. If you think about a video conferencing system, if you are in a class and you don't share your webcam, you're kind of invisible. The teacher will do their best to teach the screen and try to solicit engagement. A lot of times they will use third-party tools to try to augment the limited engagement. that is available. So if you're using a video conferencing system, Teams, Zoom, Meet, you are living within the constraints of that platform. What would a platform look like if it was directed for teaching and learning? It would do like this. So we always say BigBlueButton is a virtual classroom that provides built-in tools for active learning and live analytics to ensure every student learns. And those built-in tools reduce the need for third-party apps, and the active learning allows you to get students doing activities. Passive learning doesn't really work. I think COVID proved that. The more you do, the more you learn, and there's a concept of purposeful struggle where if you feel confused or frustrated, that's your brain telling you it doesn't understand. That's the signal, like working out at the gym. If your muscles are feeling to burn, you are learning. And the live analytics guide the instructor to see who might need some help in the moment where it matters most. We like to say in BigBlueButton, there's no back of the classroom. With that, that's been our message for 17 years now. So we think of like the broader market. There's like web-based meeting collaboration, and a subset of that would be like video conferencing. So here you want to collaborate. Here you want to just share video. And the smaller focused market is the virtual classroom. And as you'll hear me say later, it actually is a harder problem to solve because it just requires so much to do. But that is the problem that we attacked, and that is the problem that we worked on. And certainly it paid off in spades during COVID, where the world used BigBlueButton. A particular state in Germany, Baden-Württemberg, they had 3,000 Moodle servers, and they spun up 4,000 BigBlueButton servers, where they peaked at 185,000 concurrent sessions. And with my other hat on, I'm also the CEO of Blindside Networks, and we've done over 2 billion minutes in the last couple of years. COVID was a big part of that. Okay, so let's take a look at the BigBlueButton project, and there are opportunities ahead. And I'm going to describe this in the context of what's happening in the world and where the opportunities are for us. So I believe we have solved the hardest problem. If you look at a spectrum of what collaboration might look at, if you think about in the classroom and everyone has a clicker, you could certainly use your phones for that. BigBlueButton could be a clicker, which allows you to respond to polls. No big client, just, okay, ABCD. You could do a collaboration like a one-to-one, which is you're just talking with somebody. Could be a simple WebRTC app over the web, audio, video, screen share, that's it. Meeting, there's a little bit more to it. I have some more details on this. Then you're going to meet, but you need to collaborate. So I need to be more engaged with you. And then the virtual classroom. So that's pretty hard. But what about this market here? It seems like if we do the hardest problem, can't we do these ones as well? And the answer, of course, is yes. It is a matter of positioning. It's a matter of sort of reconfiguring a little bit what we have, in many ways simplifying it. And those things kind of break down to this. So if I were to map out the features left to right about what you would need, polling or clicker, all you need is polling. Something comes up and the teacher says, is it A, B, C, or D? And you press A, B, C, or D. That's it. If you wanted to move up to a one-to-one, you would need basically 3 things: audio, video, screen share. That's all you need. If you want to go to where you're meeting with a group of people, you're going to need more: the chat, the emojis, the raise hand, shared presentation, whiteboard. And if you want to go to where it's more collaborative, again, I'm just layering on top of more capabilities to those on the left. So you would add to it multi-user whiteboard, shared notes, breakout rooms. And if you wanted to actually teach a classroom, a virtual classroom, you would want management abilities, so locking students down. You would want to have some intelligence in the product, that it would understand the content that you uploaded and let you quickly ask poll questions for it. We call that smart slides. Maybe you have a camera pointing at the screen and you'd like that to become the main presentation area. Maybe you have some external videos that are teaching that you would share. You would definitely want quizzing and polling so that you can get feedback from the users. And then you'd want some analytics so that there would be no back of the classroom. It would be impossible for students to remain invisible. So that's what we did there. But of course, in doing that, we have implemented all these other functionality. So I want to explore how we could provide the value of what BigBlueButton is to these other markets. So a couple of shout outs or a couple of examples, like in the virtual classroom, there are many examples of us used around the universities all around the world. I mentioned some of them at ZKI. During COVID, we were used more for virtual classes than any other product. There was like a survey that went out. Some examples on the K-12, like Minerva Virtual Academy, they're an award-winning online high school in Europe. They're really doing well. Cell Schools is a very large collection or culmination of charter classes, and they do a lot with BigBlueButton. Professional learning, we have Red Hat. If you were to register for a Red Hat course, they would say to use like OpenShift. You wouldn't go to Red Hat, nor would they go to you. You would take it all online. They have excellent labs, excellent instructors, and you would take it in BigBlueButton. And as I mentioned earlier, Darius as well. They use this at scale for training as well. And there are many, many others, but you can kind of see the educational market breaking down into universities, K-12, professional learning, and you could even say government, but these are the main ones. So what is happening in Europe and worldwide is digital sovereignty is getting real. The idea that a country, a sovereign nation, could have more ownership and control over its data is becoming very important in the world. And then the question is, how do you get to that level where you have more control? And not surprising, the answer would be you do it through open source, because that model for worldwide collaboration already exists. So you would look around to see what open source projects are successful. In last week, there was a policy summit here in Berlin that brought together over 900 policymakers, leaders, investors, representing 27 EU member states and the European institutions. I actually am from Canada. That's where the BigBlueButton project got started. We feel a lot of commonwealth and commonality with these other European nations, because they're all trying to be digital sovereignty, increasing it, and so is Canada. So I look at this and say, wow, this is real. There is movement and policy and funding all towards this. And a piece of that, of course, is digital collaboration tools. And of course, that is where BigBlueButton plays. There are projects out there that already have the momentum for trying to fill this need. Zendice from university is a government-funded organization to provide like a sovereign tech suite. Mixcloud is a commercial, open source-based collaboration suite. And from the French government, there's something called La Suite, which is another open source-based collaboration suite. All of these are trying to provide governments, sovereign nations, with solutions that are not proprietary, open source based, using best of breed tools. And the French government has been a big user of BigBlueButton and a big supporter of it over the years. And if you are a member of the French government, you would know La Webinar, which is the basically state webinar system, and that is BigBlueButton. So the shift that I hope you've been following along so far is less now of BigBlueButton is a platform focused on virtual learning, to BigBlueButton is a platform that can provide virtual learning and other aspects of collaboration. A platform, what does that mean? It means it's not a closed system. Not only are we open source, but we are an API that you can drive from the front end, any front end, Drupal, Moodle, Greenlight, Pylos, B3 Desk, and so on. There is an API to do the recordings, which means it's a workflow that you can drop in other recording processing scripts and have other recording formats. And then in the last 2 years, if you've been following the project, we have really been working hard on a plugin architecture. That is our path to turn BigBlueButton from a product into a platform. And with that plugin architecture, we enable the world to build on top of us and create specific collaborative type applications that they don't have to reproduce all the audio, the video, all the foundational pieces. It's already there. The plugin application is sort of what made Moodle successful and grew. And I think this is our key to growth and doing other applications, other use cases. So the way I look at it is, if you have BigBlueButton as a core platform and all the things that it provides, then for virtual classrooms, you have a layer on top that has a number of apps, some of which you will see in these presentations, that are specific for virtual classrooms. And if you want to do meetings and collaborations, you have all that it provides here, probably a little bit simpler in the user interface. And you also have applications that specific, like getting the key takeaways from the end of the minutes or end of the meeting. So in breaking this down to like, what are our sort of like key initiatives for 2026? We want a solid core for BigBlueButton, and we have invested a lot of time and effort in getting there. A modern UI, and just by the way, like when I mentioned the comments earlier about like Baden-Württemberg, ran 4,000 BigBlueButton servers, 185,000 concurrent teachers and students. That was 5 years ago, and that was like amazing. It was 4 years ago, 4 to 5 years ago. We've had 4 years of hardening and improving the core of the product, and we still are like vigilant on it because we know that if it's a solid core, people just like, why would I ever reproduce this? Why would I go through all the effort that these guys have done if I could build on top of it? There's work underway for a modern UI. We want the extensible platform so you can build on top of it. Obviously, there's points for AI integration, and there's also the ecosystem. And the ecosystem in the meeting collaboration area is a little different than the ecosystem, say, in the virtual classrooms, where we already are embedded into the core of Moodle, where we already are embedded into the core of Canvas. That was our focus, to make sure that we provided the most bespoke, pedagogic-specific solution for virtual classrooms that is effective, measured as learning outcomes. Okay, breaking down a little bit of this solid core. So those of you here who do software development, there is a list of things that are expected in a core. If I look at under the hood, is it secure, stable, scalable, testable, respects privacy, and does provide observability like monitoring? All these things have been worked over by all the years for companies that have provided hosting and support in the BigBlueButton ecosystem. Companies like Blindside Networks, Think Modular, IMDT, MConf, many others. But I miss those because those are the ones that have contributed most. And if you are looking to get hosting for BigBlueButton, go check out those companies first. These people are actually contributing to the core of the project, and the money they generate helps them do more of that. The front end, of course, you want it to be usable, localization, accessible, WCAG 2.1, AA, which is what BigBlueButton is, extensible, that's the plugin architecture, and you like mobile clients as well. All these things are done in the service of making it possible to provide functionality to whatever use case it's applied. So something on stability we noticed, shout out to Stefan Rich, who actually saw this on one of the servers. Sort of like over time, or Samuel Rich, over time, the servers were just using more memory, and we're like, what is going on here? So you're going to see one of the presentations at this. We solve this. Okay, so fixed at the summit. I said, yeah, that was fixed. So a little shout out ahead. That was the stress testing. There's always been work underway for LiveKit. We are moving and have moved to in many places using that as the media backend for BigBlueButton. It's a state-of-the-art SFU media server. There's going to be work on some presentation on persistent sessions and some noise cancellation. We had somebody who has had 20 years experience in the market of doing producing of music and optimizing audio. So I have a YouTube video that I'd like to share with you, and when I post up this, you'll find the link to the video in the comments or in the description. So I'm going to play this as 2 minutes where Klaus is showing what he had done and has done to improve the audio in BigBlueButton, and you'll see this merge into a future update. All right, the link to the video will be up. Klaus did this in a more noisy room. That's actually the developer summit at the back. But how cool was that, right? Especially when he was clapping and you could barely hear it. All right, that is what you would normally see as commercial grade audio, background noise cancellation. That is coming to BigBlueButton. That's coming to the BigBlueButton core. All right, modern UI. Usability is important. Today, we have BigBlueButton 3.0, which we just released another update yesterday. That's the main development project, and there's 3.1, which is where the new UI is been working on. This is the BigBlueButton UI today. It has served us for over 6 years now, probably going on 7, and it's worked really well. But of course, we think we can always do better. And so what we're doing is, this is what the newer UI looks like. Some things to point out, much more consistency, much more clean. The upload of presentations, screen share is all now in like the media control or the media sharing. So more visible, more easier. And here are basically plugins that have been added. And this here comes out as a list of available plugins for you. The design space has been set up that this is modular, and it'd be possible for the administrator to configure the server to have multiple plugins. So this is actually now in beta 2. You'll see it in beta 3, but I'll shout out to MConf, who's done all the heavy lifting for this. They've actually been using it in production for months. So we have been modifying and improving the core of BigBlueButton 3.0. That core is actually underneath 3.1. And when I talk about the plugins a little bit in the future here, those plugins live in 3.0 and also live in 3.1. The differences between those two releases is really this UI layer, which looks pretty cool. All right. And again, thanks to MConf for doing all the heavy lifting. And some of the work underway right now is a layout manager, which makes BigBlueButton look more like a traditional meeting tool. So you can go into a mode where everything has tiles. If there's 25 users in the session, you'll see 25 tiles. There's some clever ordering that we're doing. So webcams come first, the avatars. And we want to make it so that if you just want to come into a session, collaborate with a bunch of people, we want to make it as quickly and as easy as possible. That's measured in less mouse clicks and just like time to satisfaction, where BigBlueButton is up and running, and you're now in the meeting. As a platform, plugins are key. This is our way to extend the core platform without requiring anybody to recompile the code, rebuild the packages. You literally just use a plugin API or SDK, create your plugin, load it up in BigBlueButton, and it extends the parts of the interface looking like it's part of it. So I'll give you some examples. This is the one I talked about at the Moodle conference, which is Visual Submit. On the education side, so many people are doing homework now with AI. Seems horrible because what's the point of doing homework if you actually don't do the work? It's like going into the gym, looking at the weights for an hour and leaving. Your muscles aren't going to change. If you don't have that purposeful struggle where you kind of puzzle things through, homework assignments are a way to do it, you're not going to learn. You will maybe understand something, but it's the theater of learning. You won't remember it, and you definitely won't be able to apply it. I'm talking broadly here, but just this is the way my brain works and lots of other people. I have to do something to understand it. So the example here is if an instructor in a virtual class wanted to ask the students, okay, get out your pen and pencil, write down, give me a solution to this problem, and hold up your page to the screen, or take a picture with your phone if I give you a QR code, and the instructor would be there seeing the authentic work from the students and giving feedback to them. That's all a plugin. Direct discussions is another would lead directly towards this, where if you saw a particular student struggling, you would be able to do direct discussions with them. Key takeaways would be able to summarize the meeting, and head-to-head learning, or learning challenges we call it, will be shown later on. These are examples of plugins. These are all being worked on and provided by Blindside Networks. So we also are, as the creator of the project, we also provide hosting solutions around the world. It's also an opportunity for companies to provide value add to the community, and also a viable basis for a business model where organizations would pay for this to get this value, and it takes nothing away from the core product because we put a lot of effort in the core as well. And it's an open SDK, so anybody in the world can make plugins as well. Ecosystem. So certainly on the meetings, we've got deep integration on the Moodle side, or in the learning space. Moodle, we're built into the core. There's a Drupal integration thanks to Think Modular. Faircom has been working on Matrix integration. They were also here at the summit. And we also took a look at, in addition to simplifying the interface for Greenlight, a Gmail plugin as well. Namid will present on that. Okay. AI integration, there are many points, and I sort of broken them down as before, during, and after. The learning challenge that you'll see Guilherme present, you could use AI to generate those questions. You could just also use AI to augment your existing slides. So imagine you had a slide deck and you wanted to add some quiz questions to it. There's descriptions of how to add it with smart slides, how you would format the questions. But if you think about it for a moment, it's like, can't AI do that for me now? And I got a screenshot here of what it might look like. During the live session, you could do quiz questions. And actually, this one was a cut and paste. We did a prototype of this at the last developer summit, where you could literally just have some AI read the text and basically create some quiz questions for you on the fly. And then the key takeaways is another example where if you had students providing you the key takeaways, an AI could actually assist the instructor to see which of the key takeaways are most relevant. Again, not to prevent the students from lifting the weight or using their brain. That leads to less learning and cognitive offloading. That's not great. You want students doing the work, but can you assist the instructor to save them time and effort? And afterwards, you could certainly do speaker diarization and meeting summary with AI. And this is the one about taking the summary, turning it into quiz questions, putting it back into Moodle. This is something that we, Blindside Networks, did at the Moodle Moot Global this year to show an example of how we could use the AI subsystem in Moodle. So there are some examples of how AI could be used in BigBlueButton, and many of these either use it before, so that would be content, after, that would be processing of recordings, and during, that would be plugins. The core remains the same, okay? So just a visual of what BigBlue, how to augment slides. Imagine you have a website where you could upload a slide deck, anyone in the world. You give it like 5 questions. I would like the difficulty level to be mixed. And it gives you your slides, and it shows that these slides have been added based on the content. So these would be quiz questions, and then you could quickly try them out in BigBlueButton, or you could download them. This would make it easier for anybody in the world to see more of the value of BigBlueButton, because we do already read the contents of slides, and it can drive quizzes. So there's one button quizzing. Call that Smart Slides. All right, closing thoughts is think of BigBlueButton less now as a virtual classroom, but which we continue to do, but also encompassing these other use cases for which are actually easier problems to solve. And we're taking our performance, scalable, secure, accessible, all these other things I mentioned earlier. And if we adapt it slightly, we can do a really fantastic job for this as well. So I think there's opportunities there, and especially where the world is going, anything related to digital sovereignty where you can keep your data local in your data centers inside your country, we provide you the ability to do that. And what that might look like for the spectrum would be is this sort of niche market, which is really important and is growing, we could broaden out to other markets, because again, we kind of solved the harder problem, and we want to take our solution and make it available to other markets as well. Okay, that was a preview of the sessions to come. So at this, I'm going to invite you, if you're watching this on YouTube, to take a look at the playlist, check out some of these, and I'll now stop the recording and we'll go to the next presentation.